Someday you'll find out who your friend is.
What a grip. That's from counting money. What an imagination. That's from writing movies.
Welcome to Under the Influence. There's probably been few actors as influential as my guest today, Bill Murray, the Oscar-nominated star of Lost in Translation, who began his career for most of us in Saturday Night Live, but a body of work that includes one of my favorite, Where the Buffalo Roam. I think a great performance. Bill, thanks for being here.
Forget it.
Thank you.
Don't mention it.
I know that one of the things people don't know about you is that you are quite a movie fan, and one of the first movies we ever talked about years ago was The Moon's Our Home with Henry Fonda and Margaret Sullivan.
Mm-hmm. It's actually billed as Margaret Sullivan with Henry Fonda. That's how big she was. Wow, so watchable. What a beautiful, what a creature she was.
It's weird because of all those actresses of that period, she has disappeared. Nobody talks about her. I mean,
well, and I thought that movie was really an unusual film, you know. Sort of like it happened one night, one of those kinds of setups. They're two famous people who are running away from their fame, and they bump into each other and fall in love. They get married, and then they find out that they're both famous, you know. And then they start going at it, like hammer and tongue. Henry Fonda hits her with a pillow and knocks her back into a chair. It's great. I love pillow fights with girls, one of my favorite things. But, and just wrestling, but she hits him with a pillow, and he fires it right back at her and knocks her into a chair.
All I can say is you're a stubborn, disagreeable little brat.
And all I can say is you're a contemptible, nasty, ill-tempered, conceited monster. You struck me, you cad.
No, you don't.
Let me go. I won't. Oh.
She could really do some funny physical stuff. It was just a shock, because you didn't see it in those old movies. Everybody was such a glamour puss. You never saw anybody. You know, when they did a fall, it was like, wah, you know, big eye, you know, it was always like, wah, wah. And this girl was really, really funny and beautiful. And to me, that's like that's fatal. I mean, I'm crazy about funny girls. I really like them. I've always had a thing for funny girls.
like who?
Gilda was a funny girl, you know. I mean, I really had a thing for Gilda. Gilda was the greatest laugher. And she was funny herself. So to me, that was like, incredibly attractive, you know. All the girls that are funny, I really like. I get like cow-eyed over them.
Was Lucy one of those for you?
Lucy never really made me laugh for some reason. I don't know why. Lucy was never my girl.
Or Rosalind Russell, maybe? I mean,
she was kind of funny in His Girl Friday. She was pretty funny in that one, but still, it seemed tight. That seemed tight to me. It didn't seem as free as this, like Margaret Sullivan. This performance in Moon's Our Home, it's just stuff that just, wow, just, you sort of gasp.
Yeah, because it's weird, because when I saw that movie, and I saw it after I saw Lady Eve, I mean, they're very similar, which makes you wonder, because it's Henry Fonda kind of playing the same sap again, if you were ever a Barbara Stanwyck fan.
You know, I got to her late. You know, I got to her Big Valley period, you know. I came to her kind of late, and then I went backwards with Barbara Stanwyck and saw more of her movies after the fact. I thought she struck me as being very professional. She reminds me a little bit of, who was the girl who was Maude?
B. Arthur?
B. Arthur, yeah. I worked with B. Arthur on TV.
She did.
On Saturday Night Live,
yeah.
And I wouldn't have thought I'd, you know, give a hoot and a holler about B. Arthur. I thought, oh, here's this old dame, you know. I was very impressed with her. She was amazingly professional, which to me is, you know, you got to have that walking in the door. But she was game. She could do anything. It was like she really had all kinds of chops and could do anything. And I felt Barbara Stanwyck had all the chops and really would get what they gave her as well as they could. But, you know, in the star system then and now, you know, sometimes you just get people that are going to lob them to you, you know. So it's not so challenging in a way, or the script is lobbing them to you, you know? The script's just lobbing them to you, and they don't really push you, or maybe you're not, back then it was pretty formal. It didn't seem like there was much improvisation. There was much room for just playing and just going with things. It seemed like this is how we're going to do it. She's the movie star. We're going to light her here. She's going to be in this light. She's going to do this and say this.
Well, that sense of play you're talking about is really, for me, the Marx Brothers?
Well, Marx Brothers, they wrote their movies on the stage. They would do a stage show, and they'd basically just go out there and, you know, and knock about all night long and come up with a show in front of people doing like vaudeville stuff. And that's, you know, that's, to me, that's sort of like the way I feel like I came, is that, and what I like more is like there's a situation where you're surrounded by, you know, murderers row. You know, you've got Harpo, Chico, you know, Zeppo. You've got all these brothers that are like, you know, comedy assassins. They're just killers. So you can just fly, you know, you can just, you know, you have the confidence to go out there with something, knowing that if you get stuck out there, somebody can bring you back or change the subject or redirect the audience or something. Different than the sort of maybe the Barbara Stanwyck or the sort of Star Vehicle thing where it's, you know, it's got to be pretty much, it's a safety, you know, there's a zone of protection. We're not going to get too strange or
But what they
odd.
were doing was kind of rebelling against all that and breaking down all those kinds of structures, really.
It really was more like a movie where plot, you know, could really get misplaced for long periods of time, if it was even, you know, considered too much. But, you know, you can misplace the plot for a long period of time if you had a great, you know, stateroom scene or something like that. There's not anything about the plot. We're just going to do, here's a shtick we're going to do.
Is that stateroom scene a favorite of yours? Do you like that scene?
Yeah, it's one of the great ones.
Fix the bed.
Say, I'd like 2 pillows on that bed there, huh?
All right, bring them.
Say, there's a slight misunderstanding here. I said the girls had to wake fast, not your friend.
He's still asleep.
You know, he does better asleep than I do awake.
Hey, he always sleeps that way. Now he's half asleep.
Yes, he's half asleep and half Nelson.
All right, come on.
Yes? I'm the engineer. I came to turn off the heat. Well, you can start right in on him.
Wake up, Tomas.
Yes?
Did you want a manicure?
No, come on in.
To me, that's it. You put like great comedians say, let's make ourselves laugh, which is what, to me, is how you judge. People say, how do you know it's funny? Well, if I'm laughing, it's funny. If I think it's funny, it's funny. And they say, like, what, are you the all-time judge? Are you the final authority? I say, well, I have to be. I can't just turn around. I mean, you can say, did that work? Did that make you laugh? But those Marx Brothers, they were great, you know. And I thought about Groucho Marx, is that Groucho Marx is, you know, the thing, you think he's fast, you know. He's fast. He's always like, pep, 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 he's fast. But he really did go to the body on people. He really did go to the body. He was like a boxer. Because he'd zip in, he had that crazy duck walk he'd do, and he'd go right at people. He'd go right at their body and get right in their space and just sort of shake their jelly, you know.
But that's something you do, too. I mean, that physical thing you're talking about, that Groucho did, you actually do that yourself. I mean, I don't know if you're conscious of having taken that from them or using that.
Well, I've figured out a long time ago that the only way for me to go was through the body to get it done. You know, that's what I need to do. That's how I work.
I mean, I can go back to you on SNL with, you know, Noogie Salisa Lupner. I mean, just doing that kind of thing where you just touch somebody, because people, even in comedy, often tend to sort of stand apart unless they're doing a pratfall or something. And the kind of thing that Groucho did, and the Marx Brothers did, in fact, wasn't pratfall comedy. It was a whole other kind of physical comedy.
Yeah, they'd wrap their arm around someone and, you know, wave it.
And I always thought that must have had a big influence on you, too.
Obviously, they were, I mean, I've seen all their stuff, and you don't know what you're doing. You know, you don't know where a lot of it comes from. Some of it is instinctual, where you learn that certain things will work for you. But I find that when I'm really working and I'm really in my body, that there's a sort of intelligence, a physical intelligence that appears that may be a result of whatever conscious time I ever spent watching my own body move around, or whatever time I acquired, gleaned things from watching the Marx Brothers, or the Three Stooges, Jackie Gleason, anybody that I saw when I was a kid.
As you're talking about this in SNL, I'm remembering when you did this one sketch. It was about the Hays Code, and you played Cary Grant, and Lorraine was Katharine Hepburn. And I just wondered if Cary Grant was a guy for you at all, if he's somebody whose stuff you liked and paid attention to you and sort of seeped into you in some way.
Well, there's obviously a resemblance. He's one actor I really, really liked. I thought he was great. I thought he was really, really good. That he was able to make make being suave and debonair seem so natural.
But it's like also that kind of bounding physicality, too. He'd been a circus acrobat. And that physicality we're talking about was so much a part of who he was.
Well, he moved so elegantly. He moved so gracefully. Everything he did, you know. He gets a suit out of the closet in North by Northwest. You're like, wow, look at that man get that suit out of the closet. You know, it's like breathtaking. And I was, you know, just thinking about him now, he always made other people look good. You know, and that's what they taught us at Second City was, you know, you make the other person look good, and you don't have to worry about yourself. And Cary Grant really made other people look good all the time. You never think of a movie where he was just, you know, you say dominating someone in a scene or being much bigger than they or something. He was always very aware of them, you know, gave them focus. A big part of movie acting is not your own acting, but the acting you give to the other people, you know, when they, you know, I'm very, you know, I have like a, I don't know what you call it, it's not an Irish work ethic, I don't know what that is, but I'm very, you know, diligent. I work very hard when I'm off camera, when I'm behind the camera, to give people enough energy, because when you see a close-up of an actor, a guy's talking directly to you, you know, he's talking directly to the other person, but he's not really, because there's a camera in the way. There's a camera that he's talking to, and the actor can be like scooting on the side of the camera or leaning underneath it or behind it or something. And there's just a there's just a vibrational change. It's not the same as when you're doing it in the master shot. So when you're behind the camera, when you're off camera, you've got to really push hard to help that person have enough to rebound with the size that is necessary.
So you're putting on an action to create a reaction, and like of equal proportion.
Yes, you're trying to get, and you have to work harder because you've got to fight through this camera and this tripod and all this. These people, there are people between you and the other person. You've got to really push. But I always see like people in Cary Grant movies, their energy level is always good. It never dips. And I could tell that he was doing that. Arsenic and Old Lace, he's giving focus to handfuls of people all the time.
Are there other movies of his that speak to that for you besides Arsenic and Old Lace?
Well, I'm crazy about that Eve Marie Saint. I just like her a lot. North by Northwest, even though it's not a comedy, he does a lot of funny things in it.
Well, that whole thing where the crop dusting plane, it's almost like physical comedy, where first of all, he's standing there waiting for a long time, he's kind of like just looking around.
Yeah. Truck pulls up, drops the guy off across the road, and he's doing, you know, he's doing takes at the guy, like doubles. And then when that crop duster chases him through the fields, it's not like it's terrible. It's not like it's unbelievably terrifying. It's like, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is like, what a day I'm having. Not only have I got to get up and take a bus to Indiana, I'm getting crop dusted. You know, I'm having a hell of a day. And he really wore that, like, God, what, is this happening?
Now, you had told me, and I love this story, that you called up Clint Eastwood once.
Mm-hmm.
Because you'd seen Thunderbolt and Lightfoot.
I'd seen a couple of his movies. Thunderbolt and Lightfoot was one of them with Jeff Bridges.
Yeah.
And people thought, oh, yeah, he's the guy with the big gun and all that stuff. But that wasn't what I was seeing about it in terms of work. I was looking at it going, wow, look at the other guy in the movie. Like, I'm not talking about, like, I don't want to be Clint Eastwood. He's got that covered, right? But look at the other guy in his movie. Same sort of thing where the other guy, the second banana, gets amazing focus. Clint gives him complete focus. He's an absolute equal on the screen. He gives him all kinds of equal focus. And not all the actors were acting equals or even presence. Didn't have the presence of Clint. He still gives to all the actors. He gives them their moment. He gives them a shot. Whether they do it or not is up to them. But I thought, man, I could kill one of these movies. I could be great in one of these. There's lots of, you know, kind of fun action stuff to do. There's some funny repartee. You get some jokes. The sidekick gets all the funny stuff, and Clint gets to go, you know. And then you get killed. And so that Clint can avenge you. And you have a fantastic death scene. It's like, this is brilliant. I want this gig. So I called him up and I said, hey, you know, I really like the way this goes. I'd like to be in one of your things. He said, well, would you be interested in doing another service comedy? Because I just done Stripes or something. And I said I didn't want to
become a service comedy
guy. It probably wouldn't have happened, but I just didn't feel like doing two of them in a row. I felt like I had to stay a little loose. But he had a great one. I wish I'd done it too. It was about the end of World War II when they had millions of pieces of machinery and ships and so forth. And he had this sort of supply sergeant character that was shaking and moving, just dealing all this equipment, you know. I wish I'd done it. It would have been fun.
One of the sort of comedies I know that you like, if somebody we don't often tend to think of as being a comedian, is William Holden in Stalag 17.
When Stalag 17 comes on, I can't turn it off. I have to watch it. I have to go all the way with that movie because it's a Swiss watch. It's just a gorgeous movie. It's just great. And Bill Holden is like the great anti-hero hero in that thing. He is such a son of a bitch. He is so, and yet you know this guy's got something. He's got a secret. He's got a bird in his mouth. He's got something, and you got to know what it is. You got to know what he's going to do. And even though I've seen it many times, I'm still fascinated at watching him turn the worm.
So you're stuck with me, huh?
Maybe the Russian broads would take him.
Not with that kisser. Not anymore.
You got off lucky last night, Sefton. One more move and you'll wake up with your throat cut.
You listening, Sefton?
Yeah, I still got one good ear. Now you listen to me. There are two guys in this barracks that know I didn't do it. Me and the guy that did do it. And it could be any one of you. You, Hoffy, or Duke, or Price, or the Animal, or Blondie, or even Joey. And you better watch out, the guy that left me holding the stick. Because if there are going to be any throats cut in this barracks...
And I just thought Bill Holden was great. I loved him in Network. I thought it was like a total stud. Like a totally stud performance in Network. I thought it was amazing. And, you know, you see these older movies with the guy. The guy worked with his shirt off for the whole movie in Picnic. I think it's Picnic. He's, you know, we kid about guys that take their shirts off. Here's this guy was, you know, muscles. The muscles from Brussels, he was. But he was, but also a very physical guy. Obviously, he was in unbelievable shape. And, you know, to do a movie on a closed set like that in a concentration camp or whatever that was, prisoner of war camp.
Yeah.
To be in a box like that for a long time, you got to really, your body, you can't let your body go dormant. You can't let your body go to sleep in there. And he must have really been working in between, like keeping his body alert to stay sharp.
But that thing that he did, I mean, and that, again, we're talking about using a kind of physicality in a really small space. I mean, he takes up a lot of weight. He takes up a lot of space now, given he doesn't move around a lot, and he's sitting there a lot. And I figured that kind of sort of stillness, that powerful stillness, is something that I see in a lot of the stuff you do, too. I mean, there's a lot of that, what you would call a William Holden performance in Lost in Translation. And I figure that's somewhere in you that's got to resonate a little bit, too, what Holden does.
Yeah, you're right. He's in that, he's sitting in that bed, and he's not doing much of anything. You know, he might just turn his head a little bit, but he is, his body is completely buzzing. He's alive. He's got a secret, and his whole body is like, God, I'm going to get these bastards have been grinding me down. I'm going to get them, you know. I hate the guys on my side as much as I hate the guys on the other side. That must have been an amazing feeling. You know, it was a very cool performance. Nice.
We're talking about actors, though. We can't not talk about Tootsie. And how you took what was a barely a part and improvised it into a pretty crucial portion of the movie.
Well, the credit really goes to Elaine May. She's like the smartest, funniest. There's a girl. Talk about going crazy for funny girls.
Right.
Elaine May is like the most attractive woman in the world. She is so funny and so smart. I mean, if I'd come up when Elaine May was coming up, I would have chained her to a typewriter and made love to her like every 4 hours just to keep her, you know, just to keep her going, because she is the funniest. She's really funny. She just kills me. And she's also someone who I've seen eat like an entire pound of cherries. You know, just like I was eating the lemons that time. I've seen her eat a whole pound. She's crazy about cherries. But anyway, so I really am having a breakdown, I suppose. But Elaine had the idea for this roommate character that somehow you needed to represent audience point of view in the film. And it didn't exist before this character that I played arrived. And my character arrived like a week before shooting or something like that, you know. I was sort of, you know, I'd just done the Ghostbusters, and I was sort of a Columbia favorite. I'd done Stripes, a couple movies in a row there that they were happy with. And, you know, I hear that Dustin wants you to be in the movie. He wants you in the movie. And he and Sidney were arguing about, you know, what time the sun came up. They argue about anything. So the idea that Sidney wanted one guy to play the part and Dustin all of a sudden wanted me, just because it was like another thing. So I ended up with the job. But the day I joined the movie, it was already officially a box office disaster. There'd already been a story in the New York Times saying that they were weeks behind schedule. They're fighting over everything. It was a terrible disaster. And I got on the set, and here's the set, here's the cameras and everything, and there's like 65 crew members that are 80 feet away, you know, 80, I mean, you know, yards and yards away. I'm like, what's going on here? No one wanted to be anywhere near these blow-ups that were happening all the time. So I started insulting Sidney, because Sidney's like, you know, he's a neurotic Jewish director with cowboy boots, you know, and it was like, hey, Tex, yo, get over here, you know, that kind of thing, you know. And I would give him all this grief, and the crew's going like, what the hell's going on? So they'd kind of creep in to see what was going on. And then I started making fun of Dustin. I was saying, you know, whatever it was for that. So it just dragged everyone back in. And they kind of liked it. You know, everyone kind of liked it. The scenes worked. They kept making more scenes. They say, okay, let's make another one. How about we make another one? And every time we did it, I remember when I auditioned, I actually did have to audition. I had to audition with Dustin. And we did this scene. We did it about 4 or 5 times. First time we did it, I sort of was like, you know, giving him more. We did it again, I gave him even more. We did it again, I gave him even more. We did it a third time, and the scene was completely and totally about him. And it was all about him. Everything I did set him up. It was all about him. And he looked at me and went, let's do it one more time. And we did it, and it was absolutely even. It was perfectly even. He wanted to see if he could trust me to do it. And it was like, okay, we're cool. So from that time on, I could do anything in any of the scenes. And he didn't care. There was never going to be any intent to upstage. There was never going to be any intent to like, steal. You couldn't upstage a guy who's in a
What are your kids? I mean, what kind of movies do you watch with your family?
I thought you said, what do you feed your kids?
No, what do you show your kids? I know there's quite an age range, too.
Well, I try to, you know, I'm crazy about, Hoosiers is a movie I can watch at any time. That's another movie I cannot turn off, because I love Hoosiers.
That's not too sentimental for you?
It's not. It's not, because to me, and I can cry at Hoosiers too. I will. I used to cry at Burger King commercials. I can go. I've had a lot of pain since. I don't cry quite so easily. I'm tough. But Hoosiers makes me cry and laugh at the same time. Hoosiers, because it's corn, but corn's okay. You know, it's not like an Irish wake where it's, oh, he's gone to a better place. He's up there with someone. You know, that kind of corn. There's a different sort of thing where there's a history of corn. Indiana basketball is a corn tradition. And you want to root for the home team. If they don't win, it's a shame. You want to see the little guy make the, you know, come out of nowhere. It's real, and it's only how it's executed, you know, that makes it sappy or sentimental. It's emotion. You have to have emotion. But it's when you execute it poorly, or you arrive at sentimentality, then you have to take those people out and shoot them. You got to take them out in the cornfield and bury them, like Joe Pesci in Casino. But it brings me to what I think about movies. In general, I mean, my big movie experience occurred when I lived in Paris for a while, and they have these cycles of films they do. You know, they can do all kinds of different things. And they were starting at the very beginning, and they were starting with silent movies. I remember the first day I went in there, I was so excited. I sat down and this movie came up. It was called A Romance of Happy Valley, I think is the title, by D.W. Griffith. It was a film that was thought gone, and they found a print of it in Russia, like in 1974 or 6. And this movie's just incredible. It's just, this guy's really good. It's perfect storytelling. The subtitles are in Russian. I have no idea what the people are saying. No idea. There's just Russian words and pictures. And just with the pictures, it was all completely clear. And it was like a thunderbolt hit me. I was like, whoa. What would a guy like me do in that business at that time? You know, I wouldn't be working in the movies, you know? Without a ton, who am I, you know? And that was the first day, and I walked home like in shock, like, whoa, there were people doing this that long ago that made a great movie without any words, without any sound. And it was perfect. So I continued going and saw all the whole history of it. I saw the first camera move, you know, the first time the camera moved. You know, I saw all these things the first time this happened, the first time all these different effects happened. And I was just awestruck. And as the months went by, I just kept saying, how could you see all these movies and make some of the movies that are made today? How could you make it? And so like when I think about getting out of bed to go to work, you know, or taking a job or something, I think like, wow, how could this be worth doing a movie when someone really knew how to do it 100 years ago, really knew how to do it effectively then, you know? I mean, are the people that are doing this game, do they know what they're doing, or are they just people that want to be glamorous or something, you know? I mean, it's hard to make a movie. It's hard to make a bad movie. It's hard to make a bad movie. It's hard work. But if you've seen the great movies, you've got to feel that obligation to, you know, get it right. Jeez.
Well, that's probably a good point to end it. We got to go. So thanks for doing this.
Should I go take a leak? All those who think I should hit the restroom, raise your hand.
That's enough of this. That's enough of this. Thank you, Bill.
You're welcome.
Joke about it, Angel. But someday you'll find out who your friend is.
What a grip. That's from counting money. What an imagination. That's from writing movies.